everyone. Thank you so much, Fred, for being here. It's a pleasure for BetaI to have such an honorable guest with such a story.
Thank you
And
so much.
we are going to listen your stories on the second episode of the first season of BetaCast about new media. So basically, we're going to talk about new media, like you know. So my first question is, about this new media, this topic, and connecting to the business models of Sonder and especially Seekers Club. How do they connect? How is new media part of your business model?
And, could you specify the question a little bit more?
So new media, like it's the way that we communicate, by Instagram, by Facebook, by YouTube, and all of that areas. And
Yes.
with this new media, there is huge opportunities. I'm trying to figure it out. It's the business model of Sonder and especially on Seekers Club. Where do they connect?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, they are, for those of you that don't know, those are two companies that I founded. Sonder, I founded 6 years ago now, when I was just a 20-year-old kid. And Sonder, basically what it does is that it connects brands that want to create a more real advertising with authentic people to be placed or casted as the models of the commercials. And when I started there, we were sort of like the revolutionaries, because although the media was the same. I mean, there was TV a lot. We were starting social media, and that thing was happening, but TV was still used a lot, and it still is. We were sort of like the rebels there, because it's a very vertical, with a lot of different types of companies operating. It's a very vertical sector, and so it has the brand, then the creative agency, then you have the film production company, you have the casting production company, and then there's us, like in the end of the whole spectrum. And we place people on the commercials. And so we were like the rebels, because they wanted authentic people, and everyone was doing traditional models, like aspirational models or actors. And so we entered the market by being very disruptive, and the media caught this on. But nowadays, I will say that with the transformation that is happening on the media, especially now with this of COVID, I had like that company. So it was March, April, now we are in the middle of May, and I will suspect that June as well, with zero new revenues. So it's 4 months with zero revenues, because we put people doing commercials, and no one is producing commercials because of social distancing. So there are no people doing acting and doing new commercials. What was great for us was that some brands still wanted to advertise, and so what they did was they bought the rights for the usage of films that were used before, and so we ended up having like profits last month, while our projected losses. But what for me is a reality is that I have no idea what will happen in the future with media and advertising. I know for sure that brands are moving more and more to social media, and that has, of course, a lot of influence and consequences to what Sonder does and all of our clients. But the only thing that we can really do is to be always on the search for these changes, and trying to interpret the patterns, and trying to anticipate, basically to adapt. But I will say that pretty much for sure, in a 5 to 10 year window, what we do, maybe more of a 10 year, what we do will no longer exist, or will exist in a totally different way. I have no idea what it will be, but we will adapt. Regarding Seekers Club, which is a completely different company, so it's on the personal development space. We are basically helping people who want to become better and live better lives. We are connecting them with mentors on all the areas of life, so they can grow. And we anticipated the launch. It was going to be in September, and we anticipated to April, because we really felt that both it was a great thing to do for people, because people were more afraid than ever for their health, for their economics, for their mental health. And so we specifically delivered workshops addressing these issues for free. And it was also a great opportunity to start because people were at home wanting to do something. I have a lot of friends asking me on WhatsApp for passwords of different online courses that I subscribe because they wanted to do. And so I really thought like, wow, even people that don't do this frequently are now doing more. And so we started, and we have a big component on live events and community that we will start on the end of the year. But the online part, I mean, we were able to shoot the workshops like professionally on the mentor's home. We have every week 150 people live doing Q&As with the mentor, and then on round tables divided by tables of 5 people interacting and meeting other seekers. And so, I mean, it was impossible for us to exist 5 years ago because the infrastructure was not there. Now the infrastructure is so good, and it will increase so rapidly that, I mean, it's almost impossible to predict what will happen. But for sure, brands will need to adapt to this new reality. And with Seekers Club, we started already adapted, and that was really good.
Thank you. And by speaking, let's get a little bit in the beginning and talk about that investment from your grandmother. It started everything. So I want to ask you something. Usually, when you have a startup, you look for investment. And after that 20K, you went, you growth, you went sustainable business, create a sustainable business. Why didn't you get more investment? Why did you stop there? Why did you bootstrap, basically?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, to be completely honest, and as we were talking before, whenever I start a project, I am so focused on the project that I usually don't focus on anything else. And there are a lot of things that don't even enter my scope of attention. And so on that time, it was 2014. You have startups like Uniplaces, Chick by Choice. They were all starting up, but I had no idea because I was not reading the newspapers. I was not seeing anything. And so and this is actually, I don't think it's a good thing in everything. I think in a lot of ways it can be flawed. And so for me, when I started, I didn't know what was a VC. I didn't know what was a seeds round or a Series A. I didn't know any of that. I didn't even know that you could have like VCs investing and then the whole thing till IPO or exit. So for me, that was not even a reality. And on my own thinking, what I thought was I can borrow money from the bank since I don't have any money, or I can find someone that I can borrow money. I didn't even consider having an investor, because for me, I was so young, so immature, so inexperienced that for me that didn't even exist. And eventually, of course, I started exploring more, and we started Bootstrap. My grandma, I borrowed some money from her, and we started, and I eventually paid her back. And I would say 2 years later, I paid her back, and we were a profitable, sustainable business with no investment. And so I didn't really feel the need. But in the year 3 or 4 of the business, I started to think about scaling through then Barcelona and then other cities in Europe. And the idea was to disintermediate the agencies, like to kill ourselves and to create a digital marketplace where brands or the film production companies could connect directly to the talent, to the people, without having a broker. And so that was the idea. And I started to invest basically all the money that I had, thinking that I was going to get an investor to invest in the company. But in the midst of that process, I realized that, and this is a core belief of mine, I really believe that what we do, especially when we work, is solving other people's problems. We are basically just meeting other people's needs. And the better we meet other people's needs, the more successful we'll be in life. And this is one thing to consider. The other thing is, what are the problems that we really want to solve? And so when I made this question, I was coming back from Rome with my girlfriend on a plane. I was journaling because I was feeling some tension inside, and I was journaling, and I asked myself the question: is this really the problem I want to solve? because I know how to solve this problem. I did it in Portugal. And the problem basically is authentic people, they don't know that they can do commercials. So we need to capture them. We need to scout them. I know how to do this. Maybe I can do this in another cities. But the question is, if I go get an investment and if I commit to this, it will be maybe 5, 7, 10 years on this journey. Do I want to spend 7 to 10 years of my life solving this problem? Is this problem meaningful to me? And the answer was no. And so I took the hardest decision of my life, because starting a company when you're 20 years old and you have no motivation for college, I mean, you need to be crazy and driven, and with a little bit of luck and the right principles, you end up getting there. But it was not that hard. Leaving the business was super hard, and so I hired a lot of people. Especially, I hired a great friend from Goldman Sachs in London, and I had to tell him that I was not moving forward with the project and everything. So it was really, really hard. But in the end of the day, I believe we have a purpose in life, and when we all discover it in different ages. But when we discover, when we know what's right, we need to do it. It's the only reasonable thing to do. And so, yeah, that was really hard. And so I didn't need the investment because I decided not to go forward with that project. But Seekers Club, I also started with my own money. So with money from Sonder, I started with my own money. So no investment yet. But in the end of the year, our idea is to next year to move abroad, because I believe that our core products can be sold internationally. So we products produced in Portugal, since its content and information duplicates without cost and can just be translated and subtitled. I believe that we can have a workshop from a mentor in Spain being broadcasted in Portugal and vice versa. And so the idea is to move abroad next year, and I consider severely looking for investors then. But the idea is to get product market fit and test the market channels before, so we can have more leverage and then raise money at better prices if we do it.
So the question was kind of a follow-up of something that you already touched. It's like,
yeah, and I talked a lot, so
don't worry. It's fine. So basically, nowadays we measure exponential growth, by large investment rounds. So basically,
yeah.
How many money did you raise is directly connected to how huge your company is, and that's not necessarily true.
Yeah,
you just proven it. What do you think about the way that this market behaves? Because when a startup starts right now, usually the first thing that comes into their mind is, well, I need money, I'm going to raise an investment round. But to raise an investment round, like you said, and you said pretty good, you need metrics, you need KPIs, you need really good metrics to make sure that you sell the company at the right price and you can increase your value.
Yeah.
So what's your intake in all of this?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. I was sort of like outraged when I started seeing that some people were raising like 20 million, 30 millions, or 10 millions, and then you looked at the P&L and the revenues and then the profits, and there were no profits. So for me, it was really weird, because it's a school of thought that is completely valid, and it's basically, you have VCs that they need to return, they need to have a return on investment to their investors, and they know that in a 10-year period, 96% of companies fail, and so of the 4% that do achieve something, that they basically survive, some of them need to return like a disproportional amount of money so that they can return money to their investors. And so the whole idea and the whole philosophy is, let's put as much money as we can to grow as much fast as we can, get market share, and then eventually we will be big enough to make an exit or do an IPO. What can I say about this? I can say one thing, that is, I will say, I don't want to do a percentage, but most startups or companies do not want to get into the hands of VCs, or because, like, for example, Sonder for me now is a company which basically operates without me being there. So I have a general manager that I promoted from the inside. I have a monthly meeting with this person. We analyze a series of KPIs, and we basically, it's a monthly coaching session, basically. And I don't want to grow and sell this company. It's a cash cow, it's a business to have. And if you look at most companies in Portugal or in any country, what is the percentage of how do you say in English, PMEs, micro and PMEs, like very small companies with less than 50 people?
Companies.
Yeah, small and medium companies. So most of the companies on a country are like those. And so when kids or people or adults are starting to start a company, I think it was Paul Graham that said, like, what makes you a startup, like a real startup on the term, is that you have a growth rate of 5% a week, or I don't remember what the number was, but it was like crazy growth. And most companies are not designed to be like that. Most companies do not have a market value that can make them grow into that unicorn. And so I will say that most people that want to start a company, they really need to understand why they want to start a company and what type of company they want to create. Because do they really want to create a company that really scales and sells for hundreds of millions? Is that what they want? Or do they want to have maybe more free time or the ability at least to choose where they invest their time, and the ability to have some return on investment and have some financial independence? And so they know that for some years they will hustle, and then eventually they will be able to grow the business to a point and have a general manager there, and they can do something else. I mean, it all starts with self-awareness and understanding what do you really want. And so for me, with Sonder, it doesn't make any sense to go for those types of investments. And even with Seekers Club, and I'm really considering this, I know that I really want to scale this fast and I want to grow this fast because it makes sense on this company with this market, on these conditions. But at the same time, I don't want to be forced to sell the company 7 to 10 years if there's a buyer. I don't want that, because this is my life's mission, and I believe that we will build this for the next 100 years. That at least is my goal from now. Of course, it can change, but it's how I think about it now. And so I don't feel comfortable having someone that with a clause on the agreement that says that, if LinkedIn tries to buy you, you need to sell. I don't want that. So I prefer to grow slower than to grow on that pace with those conditions. And so what I would say is, it's all about understanding what do you really want of the business, what do you really want out of the business, because the business is just a strategy to fulfill deeper needs, and then taking those decisions accordingly. But I will say, most people that want to start a business, they are not the type of people or business that will get along well with this thing about VCs growing very fast and then selling the business.
Yeah, and like you said, usually in every clause, in every investment, being in the pre-seed, the seed in Portugal, we have rare cases of Series A. Every time there is a clause that said you must, like, we have the ultimate decision that if a buyer comes in, we have like an option of selling the company for you. And
and so you need to be comfortable with that.
And it's kind of funny in a good way, to listen to you saying that, because bootstrap. You're talking about bootstrap, of course. Bootstrapping your way to the top, it's really complicated, and we have in Portugal, I really don't know a lot of cases of startups that started in the less than years and went bootstrap to the top. And it's mind blowing to listen to you speaking and saying, well, this is my cash cow. I built it. I want to stick with it. I have another company. I want to grow, and I'm still figuring out if an investor is a good thing or not. Because nowadays, having an investor is taken as a good thing.
That's really true.
Like a badge. Like, I got an investor. I am huge. So you are contradicting the ecosystem, but proving that it's still possible. So that's really inspiring.
Yeah, and I think adding up to that, it's really about understanding what you want and what are the deeper reasons why you're doing what you're doing. And so that thing that you're saying that, if you want to start a company, you need to raise money. Why? Maybe you do. Of course, that maybe you do. You may have a business that requires a huge capex investment.
Of course, yeah.
You may require a business that has a big cost on acquisition. But the thing is, a lot of businesses don't, and so money is just a resource. Money is not something to put on a star on your chest that I raised this amount of money and then my business is better. My way of thinking is, do your business model, do your financial model, and then try to understand, regarding my goals, how much money will I need? And from my personal experience, we started with money from my grandmother, and and I didn't have any money to acquire customers. So for me, on the beginning, I didn't have a marketing budget, and I didn't have a CAC number calculated. And so I didn't even thought about the idea that I could spend money to acquire customers. That was not even on my mind. And so what I did was me and the team, we just tried to figure out to get clients for free. And so for the first, I remember talking with I don't remember the person exactly, but it was like it was Miguel from Uniplaces, and I remember talking with him about this the first time that we met, saying that we were like 3 years already, and I said, we actually on the last 3 years we spent zero on marketing. We never spent a dollar on marketing. And he was like, how is that possible? Because we spend much more. And for me, it was like, really, I didn't even knew that I had that choice. And so my lesson learned was, the less money you have, the more creative you will have to be. And I think it's a great thing to, even if it's just as a thought experiment, even if you have the money, to think about how can we do this without the money? Because with the money, there's always ways.
That's why the strategy matters so much, and sometimes we neglect the strategy. There is one great investor, Y Combinator investor, that he said something in the terms, I can't remember the quote, something in the terms of, I prefer the guy that had a revenue of 1 million than the guy that raised 10 million. Because the guy that just made 1 million, he can eventually make 10 million. And the guy that raised 10 million, I don't know the revenues, of course, there are a lot of things into consideration, but the point is that, bootstrapping your way and proving that you can make money by yourself, that's the badge that investors should look on. And I completely agree with you.
Of course.
And the market is changing, by the way. The market is changing it's changing more and more. People are more skeptic in giving money. They look more and more about revenues, companies. It's
I mean, I don't have anything against it. So for me, it's like completely neutral. But it's for me, it's really astonishing how you go with a piece of paper with a deck and you raise 750K at a 3 million valuation when you have you have an idea. So it's great. I mean, I'm not against it, of course, but it's crazy at the same time.
Yeah. So then let me just tell, I agree with you. Okay, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your business models, because they change in time. It's a normal thing to have, but it's still based on fixed commissions and like stuff like that. And explain a little bit.
Can you repeat, please?
I'm asking you if your business model is based on fixed commissions or if it evolved to something else. Explain a little bit how do you look to the problems inside of making money and try to innovate them inside and adapt to the market and the new realities.
Yeah. So with Sonder, our business model is pretty simple. We didn't have to invent anything there because it already existed. We just changed the type of people that we decided to work with. So the business model is very simple. It is commission based. So the client pays us a certain amount. It's called the cachet for the utilization of that person and the rights of their image, and then we get a commission, and then we pay to the person. And this connects with what we were talking about before. We didn't know in the beginning that we could spend money for people, and then eventually we had a strategy that was, let's start paying people to get other people. It's called referrals. I had no idea that existed, but it was referrals basically. And we paid like 10 euros to every person that brought a friend to Sonder. But the thinking was, I don't have 10 euros to pay these people. I don't have 10 euros. I cannot have a CAC of 10 euros. So let's make them pay to sign up and join Sonder. And then a commission of that will go to the referral. And so we decided we were, of the good agencies, we were the first one to do it. It's basically, not only we take a commission out of when the person shoots commercial, when someone wants to join Sonder, we have a sign-up fee, and on that fee, we take a commission, and then a commission gets paid to the person that got. And so our CAC was always variable. and that's a very good thing to have. So that's Sonder's business model. Basically, that's it. Then you have fixed costs, people, and everything, and then you have your profit. Regarding the Seekers Club, there was not a straight path, and so we have different business models. We just launched. We launched a month and a half ago, so we only have one business model now. But in the next few months, we will have different products with different business models. The business model that we have right now is a membership. It's a great business model because it's recurring revenues. You know that you can measure your churn pretty accurately after some months and understand, okay, if this is the value of the membership and this is my churn, I know pretty consistently what's the lifetime value of the client and how much money I will make in every month. And at the same time, if you know your growth rates in terms of marketing and sales, so it's very easy to predict, and that's something really good because the way of always having to spend money on marketing to then sell to that person. I mean, you can always you do lead generation, you have the lead, and then you can always sell to that lead without CAC, without another CAC. But it's different if you have, at least for us, it's incredible knowing that we had X amount of revenues in May. And to give you an idea, this is our first month. So April was free. May is our first month paying. We have around 1,000 people paying $19.99 a month. And of course, of this, you need to strip down commissions from payment providers like Stripe and VAT and all of that. But it's still, to start, it's pretty good. And now for me, it's like incredible to know that next month we will have a churn, because there's always a churn, and we will have an increase in people. And so we know very, very precisely how much money we will make. And so that's the business model that we're in right now. And I really like it a lot. We will go on selling other things like events that people can buy like they want to buy an event, they will just buy an event. And we will sell also online courses where people can buy the online course, and then it's like a one-time buy. But with everything, we will have layers of membership because I really like memberships. And if you look at what Masterclass, what they do, it's like you pay 100 for one course, 200 for all courses, and I really like that. So the idea is always is to be able to sell things separately, but then bundle up, creative bundling, and ideally recurring revenues.
And what about because you have a subscription model, but what about scaling to a freemium model, like that passive into your mind, like free for a certain point, and then you need to pay? Because usually startups and companies and businesses, they go more and more on that route because it will bring more clients, but sometimes the conversion rate is low. So tell me your intake. Because I mean,
I'm not a big expert on memberships and the models, but I've studied, of course, and I studied the conversion rates of freemium models, and they really suck. So you need to have a huge pool of people to be able to do a freemium. And so I think freemium is more available for companies that have millions or tens of millions of users, like Spotify. So Spotify can do it. We could not pull that off. And so our way of doing it, I really like the concept of the value ladder. And so we know that we have the most expensive with more value offer right here. And to be able to get someone to buy this, you need to move the person, Asian ascend the relationship basically through steps. And so I'm a big fan of the idea of the word free, because there was a study, it was really interesting. I don't know if you know the study, but basically what they did was they had was with a group of students, and they had two groups. They divided the group in two, and to one group they offered a chocolate of one brand by 26 cents, and to another group they offered a different type of chocolate but pretty much the same for 1 cent. And it was like 50-50, like 50% of the people. No, so they offered the whole group the option to buy one of the two chocolates, and 50% bought one, 50% bought the other. But then they did the experiment again, and they reduced 1 cent of both chocolates. So one was now 25 cents and the other one was free. And the one that was free had 90% of people going there, just with 1 cent reduction. And so people really like free stuff. And so I'm a big fan of giving them free stuff. And to be honest, I mean, especially if it's digital information can duplicate with no cost. So if you're offering something for free, it's not really costing you money. I mean, you have to buy a little bit more of storage on AWS or something, but it's so marginal that you can really offer stuff for free. And then if people see value on that, then they will grow and buy the next thing. And so that's our idea, giving stuff for free. So we don't use the freemium model, but we have a free 30-day trial. And so people can try it out for free for 30 days and see if they want it or not. And if they are good with it, then they'll buy.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about COVID and everybody's at home.
Let's just do one thing. So sorry, let me. I need to close the window because of the light. 1 second. Okay. Here I am.
So, in your opinion about, like everybody's going remote and we are figuring out that maybe there is no need for headquarters, where a lot of companies getting to the conclusion that, I don't need the building, I don't need the people to stand there. We can do the same job and sometimes better in the remote, by working remote. Tell me your intake in this, by, in your companies, what's happening, and by working remote, if you go with that on the future, if you have a physical place.
That's a great question. Yeah, so I have a long story on that because when I started out, I started in my bedroom, and so we were like 5 people working in a bedroom, like a small bedroom, and it was always like it was not the best experience. It was just fun, but it was not like very comfortable. And so when we moved to another office, and then we started being profitable and sustainable, I really wanted to have like a super cool office with a great entrance, lighting and everything. And so I invested a lot of money on the office to make it look cool, because we received people there because they had to go there for us to sign them up and take them pictures and everything. So I wanted to have like a really beautiful experience. And we ended up on especially when I invested money to have more people because we were going international. When that happened, we had like almost 20 people working on a big office. Everyone was working on a Mac. And so I spent a lot of money there. And eventually that dream didn't turn out well because I stopped working there, and I made the transition to work now on Seekers Club. And what happened was I made the shift from being an entrepreneur to a manager very fast. No, but I had to do the shift, On Seekers Club, I'm now an entrepreneur and a manager. On Sonder, I was very young, and so I was only an entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur wants to grow and wants to do cool things. Doesn't really like to manage usually. And so I started cutting costs and everything. And we ended up going from an office that costed us like $2,000 a month, which is basically $25K a year. And every expense that you make is money that is not on your profit. So if you stop spending $25K, you have $25K extra on your profit. And so I think I didn't think about that way. And so what we did was we moved out to a smaller office. And now with COVID, we really just decided like, why do we need the office for? And so we took the decision last month, and we took everything out of the office. I'm now selling a lot of stuff on OLX. If anyone wants Mac computers, you can come and get them. And so I'm basically just selling things that we do not need. So if I could go back in time, I would not have invested as much money on furniture and laptops and everything. And all that money could go onto better salaries, more profits, growing. And so, with Seekers Club, I already started with that mentality. So we have right now sort of like 5 people working. And a lot of them, like my chief of staff, the last time I saw her was probably like a month ago. I don't see her. We talk, of course, on video calls and everything, but we do not collaborate on a way that we need to be working like together, like maybe creative studio or something. And so we don't need to have an office. We are 5 people. one lives in Bali. We all work whenever we want, wherever we want. We just have responsibilities, maximum freedom, maximum responsibility. And so we have KPIs and everything, and we manage the company that way. So no offices, no times, no time pressure, no nothing.
Like I said, it's all about collaboration in the end of the day. And collaboration and innovation are the two new things about Beta. This is what we stand for, and this is what we define. So finish this amazing podcast, and let me tell you, I really appreciate this conversation for myself, and I really hope that the viewers
thank you so much
on their houses, and don't forget to subscribe and like. I'm not a YouTuber, so I usually when I say this, it's really funny because people make fun of me. Don't forget to subscribe and like.
But subscribe and like, people. Come on.
And like I'm going to finish this podcast by asking you like a question with a big spectrum. But I want to hear your answers. What is innovation for you? What does innovation stand for? What does it represent in you, in your life, in everything that you did? Because clearly it was from going to one company to another. It was because you wanted more innovation. You wanted to innovate. Better products, better ecosystem. So tell me your opinion.
Cool. I think that's a great question to end, and I'm going to answer in a two-part answer. One, I'll give you the philosophy, so the way I think about it, and the other one, I'll give like a strategy, like how to really innovate, especially using collaboration, because I'm a big fan of that concept. So the first part about the philosophy, if you really think about what a business is, and Peter Drucker, like the management guru, says this: a business is only innovation and marketing. A business is only innovation and marketing. Why? Because the only function of the business is the service to its environment. And I'm rereading the book again, so I know this very on the tip of my tongue. And so if you think about what a business does, for me, a business is four things. One is, the first thing is there's an ideal client that has specific needs that are not being fulfilled in the way the client wants. And so I need to create something to fulfill those needs. That's the purpose of the business. I'm going to create an irresistible offer, product, service, and experience, whatever it is, to fulfill those needs. That's the first thing. The second thing is I need to be able to be in front of this person and convince this person to buy from me. A lot of entrepreneurs make the big mistake of focusing on product, and then they don't know how to market it. And a great product with not great marketing does not work. That never happens. Like if you build it, they will come. Never happens. And so my core idea here is innovation is the core pillar of the business. Why? Because what innovation does is basically it challenges the status quo of existing products and existing services and existing ways of doing things, and tries to improve it with the end result being a better experience for the client, being external clients or internal clients. That for me is innovation. And if you think about it, if the purpose of the business is to fulfill the client's needs in a way that it's also profitable for the shareholders, innovation is the core pillar and the central engine that makes sure that we are always trying to improve things by questioning the way they work. And for me, this is the core promise of innovation is all innovation comes from questioning the status quo, right? So if you don't question the status quo, there's no innovation. So innovation comes from questioning the way things are and then trying to improve it by making it better, faster, cheaper, whatever it is. And real innovation is the one that adds up value to the end consumer or to the internal clients, like to the team. If you have innovation that does not add value to the client's lives, internal or external, it's no innovation. I mean, it's still innovation, but it's useless. And so for me, real innovation is about that. And that is a core pillar. And it's really cool because at Sonder, I was not an innovator. I had to innovate in terms of strategies. But in Seekers Club, we can innovate in terms of products because I'm really passionate and I have a team that is really passionate about the product by itself. And so then we can innovate about the product and it's really cool. So that for me is innovation. How should you do innovation, in my opinion, and in my way of doing things? There's a book, I don't have it right here. I have book too. Let me see. No, I don't have it right here, but it's called Exponential Organizations. It's I don't know if you read it. It was offered to me by the VP of product of OutSystems, and it's their Bible basically. And the book has one premise that is exponential organizations do not acquire assets and then trade them to make a profit. They leverage already existing assets, even if those assets do not belong to them, to be able to improve their offer, to have more market channels and everything. And so our idea of innovating is we do not want to go on to the mistake that a lot of companies do, like Nokia, for example, or Kodak, that is, we are passionate about our products and we forget about the clients. Our idea of innovation is the client is the only thing that matters. This is very Jeff Bezos style, like customer centrism at its obsession, like he calls it. So the customer is the only thing that matters. And whatever we do, it will always be to improve the customer experience. What is the best way to improve the customer experience is to ask him or present him with different things. So a lot of experimentation, present him with different things to see if he likes it or not. And the way we do it is right now on the level 1 is by asking them to make the decisions for us. Like, for example, all the workshops, they have a premiere at Monday night at 9 p.m. basically. We were not the ones to decide. We asked them, like, what is your favorite night? What is your favorite hour? And so they were the ones to decide. This is level 1. Level 2, and this is where we want to take things next, is do a little bit more of our version of the X Prize of Peter Diamandis. That is, let's put a contest, and the customers know more than anyone else what they want in the business. I mean, you can always, like that quote from Henry Ford, if you ask the customer what they really wanted, they wanted a faster horse. That's true for 1% of the things. For most things, the clients, they know, the customers, they know what they want. So let's ask them, let's include them, and let's even reward them for improving the offer that will make them even happier. So everybody wins. Win-win wins. It's my favorite motto in business. And when you bring the customer to the table to discuss innovation with you, then you're really talking innovation, because you have the person that will benefit from the innovation innovating with you and being rewarded for that. Yeah.
And we end with this amazing speech about innovation. I couldn't say it better. It was one of the best that we have. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fred, for being here. And that's it. We see you next week. And don't forget, Fred will be still with us in the live stream in the end of the month. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
See you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for the opportunity.